Anton Watson looks pretty good. Jordan Walsh, what is up with him? Summer League action right now on the Locked On Celtics podcast.
Thanks to Blockbuster brand, it's holiday season, drop Drew in the mix. And 3 from KP, no we not on the Knicks. Flushing competition like Al on Giannis. Juice and Big Deuce, still B-Town's finest. Banner 18 going up in the rafters. Watch the C's game in locked on after. Karalis on the breakdown, clutch like a tip from D. White on the breakdown. John on the mic, documenting domination. Matter pen a back bay, it's all C's nation. Rain and J's, how it started, raising banners, how we finish. Locked on Celtics pod, home of the winners. Peace.
Hey there, welcome back to the Locked On Celtics podcast, right here on the Locked On Podcast Network, where it's your team every day. I got you covered every Monday through Friday for the next couple of weeks. Then in August, we slide into our off-season 3 days a week, but then back after August, September, come back in October as the season is almost here. It really is almost here again. And that's when we go back to 5 days a week. So subscribe, watch the show on YouTube, get into the comment section. Let me know what you're thinking. I'm John Karalis. Used to play a long time ago. Now I'm covering the Celtics for Boston Sports Journal. And I also wrote the book, Built Different, a special commemorative edition covering the Boston Celtics championship run. So go pick that up wherever you get your podcast, wherever you get your podcast, get your books. Geez, John. That's an indication. How I'm introducing this podcast is an indication of how the Celtics played in the summer league game. They won, but that doesn't matter. That was one of the worst summer league games I've ever seen. Hey, today's show is brought to you by Gametime. Download the Gametime app, create an account, use the code LOCKEDONNBA for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Buy your last minute tickets there. Tom Westerholm was with me. I'm like, I can't be the only person who has to be subjected to this. Excuse me. Summer league. That was, Tom, one of the most summer league games I've seen in a long time. Very summer.
I liked it. I think we should.
Liked it?
Yeah, I think it was good. I got
flying off the backboards, guys tumbling all over each other.
Yeah. Look, I think that like there's an essence to how basketball should be, and like summer league is supposed to look like that. So
sure, yeah.
I think, and I like I said to you, I think like this is you gotta pay your penance. Like the Celtics fans all year got to just watch like unreasonably perfect basketball, like guys moving the rock, awesome basketball players on the bench, coming off the bench, or on like, the starting lineup, coming off the bench, just good players doing good player stuff. You gotta. Sometimes you gotta watch Taylor Shireman go 3 for 10. Sometimes you gotta watch
Jordan Walsh.
I know you probably don't want to start with Jordan Walsh, but he's very interesting to me.
Well, let's save it because I put a lineup together. It's on the right side of the screen. It's right there on the YouTube page. Anton Watson, Jordan Walsh, and then JD Davison and the rest. Because I want to start with the positive. Well, I mean, aside from the win, which I suppose keeps the Celtics in the chase for a summer league championship.
Victory.
I guess. Yay. But no, Anton Watson was pretty good in this game. I think he's been really good in the 3 games this summer. And this is the first kind of statistical game that backs up, that makes people go, oh, okay. Because 15 points, 6 of 12 shooting, 3 of 9 from 3. But, okay, so he hit the 3. First of all, very happy that he took the 9.
Yes.
Because Brad Stevens, after the draft, was like, I want this kid to come in and let it fly like he's never let it fly before. And he hadn't done that. So taking 9 was good. And I would say 2 or 3 that he missed were online, just a little short or a little long. And I'm never worried about a shooter missing long or short. If you're off left or right or all over the place, it tells me you're coming off your hand wrong or your elbow's flying out. But if everything's online and you just left it a little short, put it a little long, I'm fine. So I think Watson, I'm obviously there's a couple more games left, but right now, I put Watson actually at the top of my list from this summer of like guys that I think have something translatable to the NBA. Maybe not right away, but eventually I put Anton at the top of the list of the new guys. Like, I guess I shouldn't count Jaden Springer because I kind of treat him a little bit differently. But
Kata, same thing.
Kata, same idea, right? Like those guys who have proven something and have like, I don't know.
The guys who they show up to summer league and you're like, oh
Yeah. What? Jaden Springer's playing?
Oh,
Kata's playing in summer league.
I mean, Jaquez is playing.
That's crazy. I mean, good for him. Good for him.
Sure.
But like,
Hooper.
want to get some running? Sure. But yeah, but like of these new guys, of these young guys, it's basically Watson, Shireman, and Walsh. Of those guys, I put Watson at the top of the list of translatable skill guys.
Yeah, I think so. I think I'm still pretty high on Shireman just from a skill set perspective, but I think translatability wise, it's like Anton Watson has a lot to his game. Like he's strong. I love the way his shot looks from the corners. Like the above the break one, that takes a little time to get used to. I didn't, doesn't look quite as natural. But for coming from the corners, that is an easy ball. Like that, he's just, it looks natural from there.
Yeah.
And I think that's one of the things you want to see. And again, he's strong. Like when he gets into the paint, it's hard to people are whacking at him, and he can kind of work his way through that. And defensively, he's got really good instincts. And I think there's a lot there. I'm interested to see kind of to your point, how that translates, whether, he's on a 2-way deal right now, interested to see how that goes. I think, there's, but I do think that, for you want to talk about, I know the comparison everybody wants to make with him at Summer League is your Al Horford, which is patently ridiculous, right? You're talking about a top 5 pick who won 2 NCAA championships, all that stuff. But if you think of Watson as the Al Horford of the Summer League team, right? Plus 12, guy was plus 12 today. He makes the team a little bit better. And I mean, I think that's one of the nice cases for him. I think is just hey, this could be a guy who, when he's on the floor, your team just gets a little better for a number of reasons, that might involve him statistically, might not in any way, but I think there's some potential of that with him.
I the Al Horford thing with him, it's like if you or me were trying to figure out which celebrity would play us in the movie. Yeah. We're just normal dudes, but who would play us in the movie? Who would play Anton? It's the basketball version of that.
It's you show up to a pickup game and you're the white dude who's shooting, and everybody's like, "Oh, here comes Duncan Robinson." And it's
yeah.
That's me.
Yeah, sure.
I don't say this with any experience, obviously.
No, it's off the top of your head. Maybe somebody
just an example.
Would say maybe if that were to happen,
if this happened,
possibly. So, but no, Watson. I think so. The aggressiveness shooting. I think my number one thing with him, and same thing, Shireman has not been shy about his shooting. And look, it's been kind of up and down. I'm not too worried about Shireman, but Watson, the
makes with Shireman are obscenely clean.
when he shoots, and you can kind of tell right now when he's shooting, it's almost like once he lets it go, you're like, oh, that's a good one. Mm-hmm. And then he has I don't know, it's like his arm just gets wobbly, all of the bones turn into jelly for a second. I mean, I'm like, what was that? It looks like me shooting out there. It's just all over the place. And you're that's way off. So I don't know if that's, and he took some wild ones where, driving, he's a lefty, so he's driving left, but 2 guys hanging on his right side, a little off balance. And that, I mean, there's aggressiveness with your 3-point shot. And then there's whoa, all right, you are never taking that shot unless it's 2 seconds on the shot clock and Tatum throws you a hand grenade. Great. But Watson, the aggressiveness is the thing. And I think maybe I'm harping on it because that's what Brad Stevens was harping on. So I'm latching on to that. And so, but he's just been in the right place. It's a feel for the game thing. At this level, just coming in to summer, if you're showing me a good feel for the game already, that's what I latch onto with a player. And I think Watson just kind of sees it. He just knows, like, oh, I'm gonna cut now. This is where I'm going for the rebound. There's tons of offensive rebounds to be gotten in summer league because there's no real boxing out, but he's there. He has a nose for the ball. That feel for the game stuff for me, no one on this team is showing it quite like, and even all the other guys. I think Watson has, of this team, as good a feel for the game as anybody on that roster. And that is the foundation for a guy. And maybe it's because he's been like in the league or in college. He played so much in college that he's developed that. That allows for him to either this year, next year, the year after, pretty quickly. I think if he's going to make a contribution, we'll know pretty quickly if he's ready to make a contribution.
Yeah. No, I agree with that.
All right, we'll get into Jordan Walsh, who was struggling. Maybe touch a little bit more on Shireman, who he had a bad game. I'm just kind of writing that off a little bit. We'll talk, but Jordan Walsh, interesting. Tom already said it's an interesting case. So let's dive into that in just a second. Today's show brought to you by Gametime. It's where you're going to get last-minute tickets for all sorts of things, sports, concert, comedy, theater. It's an authorized ticket marketplace of Major League Baseball, which means I'm going to go down to the Fenway Park area. I'm going to sit down. I'm going to have dinner and drinks somewhere, and then I will open my Gametime app as we get closer to first pitch, because prices on Gametime tend to go down the closer you get to first pitch. So as I'm waiting for the check, that's when I'm opening up the app, and that's where I'm going to get the lowest prices on last-minute tickets to something like a Red Sox game, because I want to go sit in the monster seats. I want to go have a good time over the course of a summer where I have some time off. These last-minute deals are going to save up to 60% buying these last-minute tickets. Again, for any kind of event here, not just sports. Flash deals are exclusive in-app deals on select seats. You can save money there. You can save on zone deals where you pick the section and they pick the seats. You toggle all in pricing so you know what price you're going to pay when you go to check out. The seat views give you a panoramic view from the seat. I already know what a seat looks like from the monster seats, but if I was going to a different arena, maybe I'd look that up so I make sure I'm getting a good seat. And I know that lowest price guarantee gets me 110% of the difference if I find that ticket for less somewhere else, but you probably won't. So download the Gametime app, create an account, use the code LOCKEDONNBA for $20 off your first purchase. Take the guesswork out of buying Major League Baseball tickets. Terms do apply, but create that account on Gametime. Redeem the code LOCKEDON, LOCKED, on NBA for $20 off. Download Gametime today. Last minute tickets, lowest price guaranteed. Thank you for making Locked On Celtics your first listen every day. Go check out Locked On Sports today. Make that your second listen. Make that your all-day listen. Listen 24/7. It's streaming on YouTube. It's on the Amazon Free Fire TV channels app. It's real sports talk, the big stories, the local sports experts on the Locked On Podcast Network. So you know you're going to get real, intelligent discussion, not fake screaming at each other that you're going to find somewhere else. But intelligent discussion, we're going to try it. We're going to try it here. Tom, are you ready to try something different and then discuss the Celtics intelligently? And Jordan Walsh?
I was really hoping to get into some screaming, but yeah, we can give it a shot.
Yeah. Oh, let's try it. Let's give it a shot.
Right.
Jordan Walsh. Jordan Walsh is a butt. No, wait. Sorry. Let me try that again. He's struggling. He's pressing, and it's pretty clear that I think he put pressure on himself coming into the summer. I think a lot of people, I've been talking it up, like this is a big summer for him to kind of show some progress.
Yeah.
And he's not. And I think he knew it was a big summer to show some progress. He knew this is an opportunity to get some run. Maybe. And it's just not going well for him. You called him interesting. What's your take on these 3 games that we've seen from Jordan Walsh?
So here's the thing about Walsh to me, right? It's like I was one of the. I'm right there with you. I think this is a big summer for him. I mean, after like one season of being kind of like interesting, like off the bench, you get unwieldy real quick on a roster in the NBA, right? Like if you're not producing and kind of taking steps forward, it starts to be like, okay, like I mean, like I wrote about this before Summer League, but like Aaron Nesmith played, like very sparingly, and he was a starter this year at times for an Eastern Conference finalist, and he could not get on the floor really for the Celtics. Like it's hard to make it in the NBA, and I don't think that Jordan Walsh has necessarily showed the types of things that Nesmith did. I think the thing that's interesting to me about Walsh is that like you see these little flashes of just like, oh, that guy is physically different. Like there is something that is just, there's something there that is just, wow, every once in a while. And it's real isolated, but he's 20. We just got done with the first segment talking about how Anton Watson is like NBA ready and all this stuff. Anton Watson is 23 years old. Like that man, he's a grown man who has 3 more years of basketball played under his belt than Jordan Walsh does. And like, it's funny, right? I actually, so my honest take on like this Celtics Summer League team is I kind of like the gamut that the young guys run on this Celtics team right now, because it's not normal like the Celtics used to have where they had a bunch of stars and then a bunch of like star young guys on their way up, right? Like that 2017-18. That's not normal. That doesn't happen. What the Celtics have now is a much more normal thing where they have like good players and some young guys who they drafted to kind of get an interesting look at. And I'm still intrigued by like all of those young guys, including Jordan Walsh. Like there was there are a couple plays. There's one where it literally was just his length, right? And like how quickly he can like get his arms out to make plays. At his length, that's very interesting. Like he has these quick, long movements that I don't know. He's still so young that like that stuff still intrigues me, and like I do think that he's putting a ton of pressure on him. So that second game, I mean, the type of offense that he was trying to get was very clearly like, I'm trying to prove something here offense, and like he didn't prove anything because like pressing in Summer League is not how you're gonna prove anything. I'm sorry, but like he's still got the athleticism, the length, and these sort of just moments of just whoa, okay, that guy is that guy, and they're not like wow in the traditional way. It's not like you like dunked on somebody. It's just these like these moments that just kind of pop at you, and you're like, ooh, huh, that guy's a little bit different physically.
He has tools. There's no doubt about it. Like I am not going to sit here and write him off.
Yeah.
But I like the Nesmith comp because it's you start to think like, all right, it may not happen in Boston.
Yeah.
And there's a reason why Watson, like I said, Watson feels the game better because he's, what was he, 5 years in college? Like you just, that's experience. And he's older. It's maturity. And you just understand things a little bit differently, especially in your 20s. The jump from 21, 22, 23, you're learning a ton. You're getting smarter, more mature. And it's just the growth is rapid. So I can understand why, Jordan Walsh is sitting there. He just watched this team win a championship. He wants to be a part of it. He wants to be a contributor. He wants to be on this. And I'm sure he feels like he can do a lot. I think his biggest problem right now is he's trying to do too much. I think so much of this is just in his head, but also the setting doesn't help him at all. When you're in Jordan Walsh's position, you're playing on a team where Killian Tilly is starting at center. We're never going to see anything from Killian Tilly, right? Ron Harper Jr. gets a training camp deal. He's not going to be on the Celtics. Jamias Ramsey, great, 15 points. He took 10 shots. That's the second most on the team. He's trying to he's trying to hook on somewhere. He's auditioning for somebody. Tyler Cook, Tristan Enaruna, Jalen House sitting there. By the way, having Jalen House with the trash talk, fun. What a fun fourth quarter from him. That was incredible. But I don't know if he's an NBA player, right? But all of these guys are trying. They're trying to show something. And Walsh isn't the do-it-yourself kind of guy. Yeah. Not right now. And if you're trying to do too much yourself, then you get big kind of the dribbling is a little out of control. He's playing at like 80 miles an hour in a 65 mile an hour zone. And it's just not working. But because the game is playing at 85 miles an hour in a 60 mile an hour zone, like that is hurting, I think, his ability to show what he can really do. What he's going to do for the Celtics, if he makes it onto the team, like into the rotation, is the dirty work, the rebounding, the defense, the ball movement, and catching and shooting wide open shots. But he's not getting wide open shots.
Right.
And he's not, there's nowhere for him to pass. I can't tell you how many times guys have gotten the ball and no one's moving, no one's presenting themselves. It's not, you're just not playing next to Jayson Tatum, Jaylen Brown, Al Horford, all those guys. Yeah. So the setting is bad for him. And I just don't think that he is processing all of this stuff the right way, where he can sit back and relax. And just, it's better for him to almost be part of the background.
Yeah.
And try to make the right play, then try to join everybody at the front of the stage.
I think he would be really well suited. I was talking about how he has those moments that pop. If he focused on those, like if your guy gets the ball, get up in him and harass him to the point that like he makes it, like get really aggressive. Because that was the thing coming out of college. Like when you watched him in college, it was like he was like Marcus Smart at not to that level, but like those types of plays at 6'7". So it's like do some of that. Like get out, like play. Make your defense be the thing that pops. And if you get to take a three, take a three. But that's I think the big thing, because to your point, these are not shots that he is ever going to successfully be taking in the NBA. You're not adding anything to your game. You're not adding anything to people's evaluation of you by taking these shots. But if you start if your guy turns the ball over 3 times in a row because you were just like dogging him, that's going to pop. Yeah. That's going to be what makes the team go, maybe we want to see if he can do this like in spot minutes in the spot rotation minutes, like here and there. Like there's a guy, like we just want to throw like youthful athleticism and energy at him. Let's get Jordan out there for a minute. Like, let's see what happens. Yeah. You do that a couple times in the NBA and all of a sudden maybe you're getting it a little bit more often, it's like, that's the kind of the way that I think you got to build up. It's not, it's just not on the offensive end. That's not what it is. Like, look at the team you're on, dude. Like this team, like, Drew Holiday was the 5th best offensive player on the starting lineup. You're not doing that on this team. I'm sorry.
Go set some picks, box somebody out. Yes. Do all the little things. Just do all the little things and let everyone else try to go nuts. Now he only took 5 shots, but he's trying too hard.
Offensively, this game was better than the last game. I thought the last game was So let's go, Jordan. Come on. I believe that he has. I believe in Jordan Walsh.
Ability. Yeah. I do believe that he has NBA level ability. It's just slow down, buddy. Slow down. Slow down to speed up. It's one of my favorite things. Slow down to speed up. All right, let's get to the rest of these guys, including JD Davison, who also interesting to me.
Interesting.
Very interesting guy. So Jordan Walsh isn't the only guy that I'm kind of perplexed by. JD Davison I think part of this is the setting. The setting is Davison is there to kind of use his athleticism to collapse a defense and then make your passes, make your alley-oops. He looks better when he's got Nimish Keita there to dump the ball. So the better the players are around him, the better Davison is going to look.
True of many point guards, incidentally.
That's kind of, yes. Point guarding, a point guard's supposed to raise everybody else's game, but everybody has to be on the same page.
Yes.
And it's very difficult to be a point guard when, again, you've got Ramsey and Tilly and Cook, and everybody's just trying to do their own thing and be like, hey, there are agents, there are scouts here. There's people here that I need to impress. So I'm not making that extra pass. I need people to see that I can score. I'm not, so I hesitate to put too much on these guys, but I do think Davison's kind of in the same boat where you're trying to do too much. And then when you're coming down, you're like, where's the pass? No one's doing what they're supposed. I'm just going to do it myself. And then he tries to do too much on his own and he turns the ball over. Turnovers, I think, are a problem for Davison. And the real question is, if he is point guarding the Boston Celtics somehow, for some reason, is he going to try to do too much when, hey, just wait an extra tick. Don't worry. Jaylen's going to pop open or Jayson's going to pop open. Is he going to continue to get impatient? Is this a habit that he's building, or just like, this is the setting and, even in the G League, not being in that same cohesive bunch? I don't know. I question Davison's future. I'm actually honestly surprised that he signed another 2-way deal here.
So I kind of like Davison. I think it sounds like I'm a little higher on him than you are. I think for one thing, it's valid to wonder if the impatience is, kind of if that would also be the case in the NBA. I do think it'll be a lot different if he happens to find himself on the floor with Jaylen Brown and Jayson Tatum than if he was on the floor with, Ron Harper Jr., right? Like, that's a little bit different. I think the athleticism is so real with him, right? Like, you see it, like, and again, you see these flashes, right? When he gets out in transition and he, is Euro stepping around a guy. He does that kind of odd little spin move that he did in the second half. That got him a layup. I like those. I think my thing with Davison is just the number. I tweeted this the other day, but it's like the number of NBA attributes that he's starting to stack are interesting to me. Like, he does have the pick and roll lob. He does have that read. He's got the pick and roll read. He's got the, your K does whatever. He's got the read where he comes off the screen and then can kick it to the corner. He's got that. Like, he knows kind of where guys are supposed to be pretty well. The 3-pointer is really pretty decent compared to what I kind of thought it was going to be. Like, it's certainly better than I thought it was going to be when he was coming in as a rookie, right? Like, so when you really start to add that stuff up, it's like, okay, so he's got a little bit of a 3. That's pretty good. He's got a lot of decent pick and roll reads. That's good. He definitely has the athleticism. That's good. He's like pretty stocky, like there's some strength there. That's kind of interesting. And it's like, you just kind of like 1 + 2 plus, the addition here is just interesting to me. And I guess I definitely understand why the Celtics wanted to give him another 2-way deal. Like, can we get one more? Can we see one more time like what we got here? Because, like, eventually, right, this roster is going to get pretty expensive, and I think that's going to mean that Peyton Pritchard is going to have to kind of step in for somebody who's probably not going to be able to be on the team kind of affordability-wise down the road. And if that's the case, do you kind of have somebody who could step in as the Peyton Pritchard behind Peyton Pritchard? That kind of like, hey, can we develop somebody cheaply and bring them along and have a guy who could at least kind of give some passable minutes? And is Davison that guy? Like, I would, to me, just the number of attributes that he has stacked has made him interesting in that capacity. Like, give it at least one more year here to be like, okay, can this kind of be that backup to the backup guy who could kind of when everything needs to when everybody kind of needs to be moved up a little bit because somebody else had to go, can Davison kind of be the guy who's at the bottom of that?
Yeah, I wonder about that. I see what you're saying. I get your point. Obviously, this is his last two-way deal. You can't do another.
Can't do it again.
So when I say it's a make or break season with the Celtics, I mean there's no other way to put it. Like, he's either going to stick with the Celtics or he's not. I am not as high on Davison because I feel like if you haven't shown that by now, when are you going to? But
what do you want him to show? Like, what has he not shown you that you're like,
ball protection,
okay,
consistent 3-point shot, like that kind of stuff. I do think he just turns the ball over too much. I think he tries to do too much. That leads to the turnovers, and he's shooting 30% from three over 2 seasons in the G League. So I get what you're saying, and I'm not saying it's not going to happen. It could, and he's in the same boat. Like, he's a young dude still. So it's not fair. As I say it, I understand. I'm hearing myself being slightly unfair, but this is an unfair business. And like, this
unfair business.
It's a very unfair business, and there are guys who, with the right kind of breaks, would have been role players in the NBA. Yeah. And they're overseas or their careers are over. And you get a couple of bad breaks, your attitude changes, something happens, you get into a bad habit, and all of a sudden your NBA career fizzles. And some guys, right place, right time, right team, and your skills just match, and now you're making role player money, mid-level money, and that's like $15 million a year, right? So
yeah,
it's not, we like to say it's a meritocracy, but it's not always the meritocracy. There's 500 players in the NBA, but the bottom 200 or so, maybe more, can be interchangeable, and it's just so much of it is luck and all of that stuff. All of that is to say that maybe Davison catches a break. Maybe he needs to go somewhere else to catch a break. Maybe 5 years from now we're looking at Davison and people are like, "Oh, why couldn't we have kept that guy?" Like, and much like the Aaron Nesmith thing. And it's just like, well, hey, he was around at the wrong time. Nesmith needed a couple of seasons just being at that level to figure himself out. And he's still figuring himself out. Yeah. So,
that's an interesting point about Davison too, because that's actually kind of exactly what Brad Stevens said when he drafted him. Like, I don't know if you remember, but like Brad's comments were basically, and obviously paraphrasing, but it was kind of like, wherever he ends up spending his career, we want to kind of be that developmental place for him.
That's right. That's right. I do remember him saying that. Yes.
Yeah. It was like, it was, I had never heard a GM say that about a draftee on draft night. It was like, really, Brad, interesting.
Yes, that is, I do recall that.
Yeah.
It's an interesting tact to take, because it was like, yeah, you're probably not going to get a shot with us, but we like your skills.
Well, we like you. Yeah.
But this is it. That's it. That's it in a nutshell. The guys in that spot were Davison, Jordan, Walsh, Watson, even Shireman. Once you get past 20 something, once you get past the lottery even, but definitely down at 30 and beyond, it's a crapshoot. And this is what really sucks about the NBA. We know that there's only maybe one spot here, but we're talking about 4 different guys, 5, and
House was great today, right? Like
Yeah.
he was fun, he was aggressive, and
Yep.
that dude is not sniffing
Nope.
this roster. There's
No
no
chance.
chance.
No chance.
No chance.
Maybe he ends up in Maine. Maybe they do him a
Maybe,
solid.
sure,
Maybe they do
absolutely.
Eddie a solid, and they were like, "Hey, we think he's a G League type player. Let's give him. Let's keep him around in Maine. You
Yeah.
can be with your son. That's a great kind of thing to do. Give him the opportunity. You can show out a little bit under our system and be around your dad. Little support system, and then hey, if the Phoenix Suns sign you, great. You're going, but you live in Phoenix anyway, so let's go. So great, but we're talking about all these guys. I like Jordan Walsh just as a person. He's a good kid, man. That is a good kid. I've gotten to know his parents. There was a stretch there in the playoffs where I saw his parents literally every day walking into the arena, at the arena, on the road. Great family. Love those guys. And I'm sitting here on the podcast. I know that they're listening. And I'm like, I don't know. Jordan might not be here, but he might. And I'm rooting for him. I am rooting for Watson. I am rooting for Shireman. I am rooting for JD Davison. And nothing personal. But guess what? 3 of those guys won't be here in a year or two, probably. That's what sucks. And, what can you say about it? Like, from a strictly, this is a meat market type of thing. We don't care who you are. You're a faceless blob in a uniform. Do you have the skills that it takes at a cheap enough price that we can keep you around because you might help us?
The specific skills that because it's like, do you have the skills to, yeah, of course. Okay. But do you have this insanely specific skill set that our team needs right now?
You might have the skills that the Portland Trailblazers want, but you're not on the Trailblazers. You're in the Celtics organization.
You're on the world champion Boston Celtics. And
that's right.
So try to carve yourself out a role on that.
Yeah.
Good luck,
luck. I mean, you could go to Portland. They could use that's a great spot because they're the guy they want to develop is Cooper Flagg. That's who they want to develop. So you want to get some opportunities there. They'll be happy to lose games while you try to figure yourself out. And who knows
Portland, Oregon, to be clear, not Portland, Maine, but yeah.
That's right. Portland, Maine. Portland, Oregon. Oregon. So I don't know, man. That's what sucks. But hey, one of these guys, who knows? One of these guys might stick around.
Yeah. And again, I like this young core of guys. I think the thing is, I agree with you completely that I think that there's a very limited amount who will stay with the Celtics, but I still think that Brad has done a good job of taking pretty good swings.
Sure, absolutely.
Picks. Walsh is a good swing. Shireman is a good swing. Watson is a great swing. That guy might be the guy who sticks. There's pretty good swings here, and I like his process. I think it's a good process.
Yeah, he's giving himself chances. That's all you can ask for at that spot. You're giving yourself chances, and I do believe. I think Watson right now might be the leader out of all of them.
I think so.
And that's if the 55th pick ends up being the guy who sticks, man, that's an amazing swing. Yeah. You get 4 or 5 chances, and that if that works out there, that's that you're. I can't even begin to tell you how amazing that would be because you're beating so many odds. We talk about the draft lottery, but that's actually hitting the lottery in the draft if you get somebody useful down there. All right. We'll be back tomorrow. We'll talk about, I don't know. We haven't talked much about Team USA. Maybe we'll talk a little about Team USA. We'll get more stuff, and who knows what's going to happen. So we'll talk more tomorrow. Tom, I appreciate you being on as always.
Yes, sir. Appreciate you.
And I always appreciate you, the listener, the watcher, the podcast consumer. You have a lot of choices for Celtics podcasts and a lot of good ones. I feel like this is the best one. And we're here Monday through Friday for July. Then 3 days a week, unless something happens, and it could be 4, could be 5 in August and September. We'll get into some of the other stuff, more of our appreciations, appreciating all the players from the championship run. We'll do that over the course of the dead period. So plenty of podcasting, more podcasting than you're going to find anywhere else. So subscribe wherever you get your podcast. Watch a show on YouTube. Get into the comment section. Let me know what you're thinking. then I would love it if you shared the podcast. Tell everybody they should be listening to and watching the Locked On Celtics podcast here on the Locked On Podcast Network. It's your team every day.